Hello and welcome back. Today we will uncover the most horrifying and merciless form of execution, being shot in front of a cannon. What kind of unimaginable crimes could warrant such a gruesome fate? How did this barbaric method come to be? A horrific act was crafted by the mighty Mughal Empire way back in the 16th century and continued to be used in some parts of the world until the late 20th century. It's known as gun blowing, and guess who popularized it? The notorious British Empire. Their intention? Oh, just to make sure the suffering didn't end with death for their Hindu enemies. They wanted to deny them the opportunity to perform their sacred funeral rites. So what are the dark consequences of using this gruesome execution method? But before that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. The prisoner was cruelly fastened to the muzzle of a cannon, twisted uncomfortably around it. Now, let your imagination run wild. What do you think happened when the fuse was ignited? Exactly. The poor soul was left in that agonizing position for hours and sometimes even days. Can you imagine the horror? As time wore on, the psychological torment took its toll. The man lost his sanity, driven to the point of begging for his life to be put to an end, once and for all. But the real horror was yet to come. When that cannon was fired, the power was unimaginable. The force of the explosion tore the body apart, sending flesh, guts, and bone fragments flying in all directions. It was a grotesque display of carnage, leaving even the spectators at risk. You heard it right. Innocent onlookers often found themselves injured because they hadn't maintained a safe distance. Now here's the chilling part. The prisoner's head would soar up to a staggering 15 meters into the air, while the arms would scatter left and right like macabre fireworks. And the legs? Well, they would crumble beneath the mighty cannon. Imagine the sheer horror of witnessing such a macabre spectacle. The sky above would darken as flocks of hungry birds of prey swooped down, eager to snatch the airborne chunks of flesh as soon as the cannon's thunderous roar subsided. It was a feast for the scavengers, a chilling reminder of the brutality inflicted upon a fellow human being. As the remains of the executed man lay scattered on the ground, hungry dogs eagerly descended upon the macabre feast. Oh, the horror! Spectators, unable to bear the gruesome sight, found themselves overcome with nausea, unable to contain their own revulsion. Can you blame them? But sometimes things didn't go according to plan. Let's go back to the city of Firozpur in 1857, where a mass execution unfolded with disastrous consequences. The soldiers in charge made a grave mistake. Instead of loading the cannons with harmless blanks, they loaded them with normal cannonballs. The result? Numerous innocent civilians were injured, and tragically, many suffered amputations. And the condemned man, mere seconds before the shot was fired, found himself accidentally loosened from his bonds. The poor soul writhed in agony, experiencing immense pain as he awaited his execution. It was a cruel twist of fate, my friends. He longed for his executioners to put an end to his misery, but they withheld their mercy, prolonging his suffering. The British Empire, yes, the very nation we associate with grandeur and civilization, was one that embraced this method of execution with horrifying frequency. The very empire that projected power and control found solace in such abhorrent acts. Now let's talk about the infamous East India Company. Founded in 1600, this British joint stock company had grand ambitions of trading in the vast Indian Ocean region. Now, if you're a fan of swashbuckling adventures, you might remember them as one of Captain Jack Sparrow's many nemeses. But their impact went far beyond the silver screen. This mighty company held dominion over a significant portion of the Indian subcontinent since 1757. Their influence reverberated across global trade, with their operations accounting for a whopping half of world trade during the 16th and early 17th centuries. They were no mere traders, my friends. The East India Company exerted military might and political pressure, even assuming administrative functions. With an army boasting a staggering 260,000 soldiers, they flexed their muscles across Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, and established trading posts and colonies in the Persian Gulf. The East India Company had a long-standing tradition of silencing Indian soldiers found guilty of mutinies or instigating rebellions. And how did they achieve this goal? By 1761, the British company issued an order to execute the leader of a group of robbers who had been captured using the grotesque method of gun blowing. Their intention? To send a chilling message and deter any future would-be rebels. In the year 1764, a native senior non-commissioned officer with clandestine plans to sway soldiers to the desert was discovered. He was gruesomely blown to pieces in front of his own troops. Fast forward to the same year, when Major Hector Monroe took matters into his own hands. He executed a staggering 24 to 25 ringleaders responsible for an entire battalion's desertion. Month after month, the grim procession of executions continued. The cannon, an instrument of terror, claimed the lives of those deemed guilty. Years rolled on, and every so often the horrifying act of gun blowing would resurface. In 1775, a commander named Maktoum Sahib dared to defy British orders, only to meet his grisly fate in front of his subordinates. Witnessing such a macabre spectacle, the remaining soldiers obediently fell in line, their spirits crushed by the display of ruthless power. Another dark episode unfolded in 1784. Following a mutiny, 12 rebels found themselves captured, their doom sealed. Their sentence? Death by cannon. But here's where fate played a twisted game. The last rebel, cunning and quick-witted, managed to escape the clutches of the cannon's fire. As the fuse failed to ignite, he seized the moment, cleverly questioning his lieutenant general if it was truly his destiny to perish in such a manner. Through his cunning words, he managed to secure a pardon, evading the gruesome end his comrades faced. Yet, it was the Indian Rebellion of May 10, 1857 that truly cemented the association of gun-blowing with the British Empire. This uprising, born out of discontent over social reforms, oppressive land taxes, and the harsh treatment of wealthy landowners and princes under British rule, ignited the flames of rebellion. In response, the British Empire showed no mercy. From May to September of that same year, 44 of the 523 men who took up arms were executed. In the city of Indore alone, 21 of 393 rebels met their agonizing demise, blown to pieces as a stark warning to all who dared defy the empire. This form of execution persisted even after peace was established. In 1871, the entrails of 65 members of the Sikh Kukas, or Namdari sect, were scattered through cannon executions. It is believed that Portuguese colonialists also used this method in their colonies. For instance, explorer Francisco de Almeida employed it in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, around 1509. During the Dutch siege of Colombo in 1656, famine led a desperate mother to kill and eat her own baby. The Portuguese general initially intended to execute her with a cannon, but was persuaded against it by the clergy and prominent citizens. Explorer Francisco Barreto imprisoned 50 Muslims in Monomotapa and subjected them to various methods of execution, including gun blowing. Slaves in the Mozambique capital of Tete used this method as a capital punishment in the 18th century. In the 19th century, a notorious robber leader captured by the Portuguese was blown apart by cannon. In 1618, the Portuguese faced resistance in Brazil and executed one of the leaders named Amaro in this manner. In the early 19th century until 1930, Afghanistan practiced a method of capital punishment known as gun blowing. This brutal tradition involved blowing victims apart with guns as a means of instilling fear or seeking revenge. Examples include a defeat in 1802, where the ruler of the Durrani Empire, Mahmud Shah Durrani, spread the entrails of a Ghilzai leader and his sons and created a tower with their skulls. In 1880, Abdur Rahman Khan, known as the Iron Emir, carried out around 5,000 executions annually, with gun blowing being one of his preferred methods. In December 1889, 24 people were executed using gun blowing. There were other executions using different methods. In January 1929, Habibullah Kalakani's rule in Afghanistan led to extreme violence and a reign of terror. A New York Times article from 1806-1930 reported 11 Afghans being blown to bits in Kabul. The history of such atrocities raises questions about mankind's drive to cause pain and agony, whether a future utopia promoting life and justice is possible, or if we should prepare for a worse future. There is a revelation from the great philosopher Thomas Hobbes. He claimed that deep down in our core, we humans have an inherent wickedness. We're like the bad guys in a courtroom drama, and the evidence against us is staggering. We not only harm our fellow human beings, but also unleash our wrath upon innocent animals and plants. We're wreaking havoc on the entire planet, and guess what? The terrifying consequence is none other than our own extinction. Can you believe it? With that said, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and if you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.